What is happening, guys? I'm N64Josh, and this is another game vlog. Remember, we do this live on twitch.tv/N64Josh, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Today's game is none other. It's one of my top 5 games of all time, and that is Super Metroid. Super Metroid. So, I remember playing the first Metroid, and I really didn't love it. I didn't love it. I found it pretty difficult at a pretty young age. And then I played 2 on Game Boy. I never owned a Game Boy until I was much older, but I would borrow them, and I remember borrowing the game. Made it pretty far. We'll talk about that game for sure. But I remember, and I got to the last. The way Metroid 2 worked is you had to go all the way through, up until. Like, you just had to go through, and there was just a number of Metroids you had to kill. It was just a countdown, basically. I had one left, and then I had to give everything back. I couldn't finish it. Never finished it. So when you start this game, and the opening scene, you see yourself and the Metroid that you rescue from 2. And I was hooked. Immediately at that point, I was hooked. And then they throw you into the space station. Ridley shows up, steals the Metroid. Space station explodes, and you have to leave. And I remember hooking up the Game Genie to where you couldn't die. And just sitting and trying our best to beat Ridley, like to stop the game, to beat the game in the opening sequence. Couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You would just sit there forever. You just sit there forever. So this, by far, like, one of my top 5 games. The reason for that is the end. The end. Now, spoilers, I guess, for a game that's relatively old, but you get to the end of this, and that Metroid that you're trying to rescue ends up sacrificing himself for you. And I remember I was probably like 12 years old and just thinking, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, this was the first time, this sounds so silly, but it was like the first time a video game had basically evoked an emotional response. And that's, I mean, I know it sounds goofy, but up until that point, games were just, they were for fun, they were for playing with friends, that kind of stuff. And here I was, and I remember looking over at my dad and being like, "Dad, my Metroid just sacrificed himself for me." He's like, "What's a Metroid? Shut up. Go outside." And so that was kind of the, I had nobody really to talk to about that moment at that time, right? But I remember just the exploration of this game. It wasn't like anything I had really experienced. And I remember one of the coolest things was like seeing where you could see, like, I bet I can get there eventually. And that's what this game did so well. It had everything kind of hidden in plain sight, but you had to keep this like mental checklist of where stuff was and how you were going to get to it, and like, oh, if I get the ice beam, I could free stuff and then jump off of stuff to get to certain areas. Other things you would shoot, and it would show which kind of weapon you needed to be able to open a secret passage or open a door. Chat saying they love the SNES pixel art style. Same here. I loved the way this game looked. The opening scene when your ship lands after the space station explodes, and it's raining sideways. Like, it was just atmosphere. Like, that was the best way to put it. Like, it just kind of just set the mood for, like, you were alone on an alien planet. And it did a really good job of making that very clear. And so it wasn't just the, hey, run left to right and, beat the stage and move on. No, this was a world. This was a world to explore. And I remember getting stuck. I remember running back and forth, trying to figure stuff out. And back in the day, there wasn't just like, oh, hang on, let me look up a video. No. You had no other option. You could call the Nintendo helpline. Let me see if it's on the back of the cart here. It doesn't look like it is. But that was the thing. If you were like stuck in a game, you could call the Nintendo help and like it would charge your it would charge your long distance. Man, parents did not love the Nintendo helpline. So, you know, careful kids. Twig in chat saying sign up for Nintendo Power. Exactly. You know, get a lot of times these games would come with like maps and things like that. Here's what's funny. I don't remember how I got this game. I think I borrowed it from a friend and then never gave it back. I think that's what happened, because I don't remember purchasing it. The same is true for like Link to the Past. I don't know. It's in my collection. I've played it. I've beat it. I don't know where it came from. Pro tip: they say don't lend Josh games. Well, I'm pretty sure we would have traded like this. I wasn't that kind of a kid. Like I didn't, you know, I wouldn't rip somebody off. So, and I think I think what it boiled down to is he knew how much I liked this game, and once he beat it, he was like, I don't need it. But I really don't. I don't remember where it came from. But jumping back into the game, this game did such a great job of just like teaching you how to play the game with gameplay, right? There were these little creatures throughout the game that would like show you, hey, you know, you need to like you've learned the ability to dash. Now dash and do like a shoulder charge, and you can bust through certain walls and things like that. I remember one spot specifically where you finally get the super bombs. Right? They were like green, and there was this tube that you could walk through. And there was nothing that told you like, hey, I should set this off here, but I'm like, you know, I wonder what will happen. And you set the bomb off and it blows the tube up and it allows you to access more of the map and things like that. So just so many instances like that. The boss fights. Here's what I love. You look at the artwork here, you can see Samus, you can see Ridley, and then you can see the claws of another boss. And I can't remember the name of that boss off the top of my head. But that boss was so massive. It was like the screen was broken up into stories, and he was like 3 stories. Like he was so incredibly large. And that kind of just, this game just kind of set the standard for what, you know, what games could be, especially this type of game, like this adventure style game. And man, I really, really, really enjoyed it. You know, the boss fights, the different power-ups, like you'd get into those situations where it's like, I just saved, I don't have a ton of health, and I've got to beat this boss, you know, and sometimes it would have to come down just to skill because you didn't have enough, you know, maybe you didn't have enough missiles. You had to make sure to shoot other little enemies to get missiles, that kind of stuff. All of it it's just so good. Now, if you've never played this, maybe you've got the NES or the SNES Classic, you're thinking about playing through it, at the very end of the game, near the beginning, so let's see, near the opening of the game, if you come out of your ship and you go left, there's an area that has blocks that I believe you can just fall through. It's been a while since I played it. And down in there, in that area, after you've defeated Mother Brain, you want to make sure to get into that area, because as the planet explodes, you're going to see a little ship leave. And that was the animals that taught you how to do different things within the game, how to, you know, like super jump and shoulder charge and things like that. So you want to make sure you got to save your friends. All right. And you'll see it. You'll see the planet explode and you'll see the little ship go off. So highly recommend this game. It still holds up to this day. The thing is, this game was, in my mind, like near perfection for a Metroid game, and they never quite were able to get that again. Now, like Zero Mission and Fusion were great, but they kind of added like this robot would like give you tips, and almost made the game a little too easy, and kind of took away that just the fun of exploring that this game had. There really was nothing to help you along in this game. You just had to explore, and that's one of the things that made it so great. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next video. Bye now.